What is going on, everybody? My name is Ryan Klein, and welcome to, I think I'm calling this Ryan CCC Tube, because, you know, my Instagram is RyanCCC98. So, yes, a lot of people have wanted me to make a YouTube channel, so here I am finally doing it. I've been wanting to do it for a very long time now, but I keep waiting for the right equipment, and the right lighting, and the right setting, and it's just never going to happen. So, I'm going to just start with what I've got here. We're making a video here in my makeshift kitchen, which is why we've got a tea kettle over here and my toaster flipped up over here, so, and seasonings and a Coke sign. So yeah, that's where we're gonna be for a little bit when I'm making these videos, which I'm sure you guys don't really care. You care more about the content in the video, which we'll get into in just a second. So a lot of people have asked me how I do my bushings so well. I'm currently holding an AB 1.0, which I didn't do the bushings on, actually. My good friend Casey, also known as Turbo Jackalope, did them for me. And there's no tap on this. And usually on 1.0s, there's a lot of tap. So he did that one for me just because I'm not really good with smaller bushings. But today we're gonna fix up a bally for you guys. Well, really for myself, but I'm gonna teach you guys how to do it. So, when you first get started, there's a few things you want to check. Well, let's start with a list of things you're gonna need. So, you're gonna need some screwdrivers. I like having a bunch. So, get your screwdrivers ready. You're gonna need some sandpaper. I would recommend, if you're just starting out, doing a higher grit, so like maybe go with like 850 to 600, or you know, just go higher. I'm personally going to use 220 here because I've done it a bunch and it goes by a little bit faster, but by using the higher grit, there's a less chance that you're going to undersize the bushing, which once you undersize the bushing, that's it. You kind of have to throw that bushing away and you have to get a whole nother bushing and start over. And once we get started, you'll see why starting over sucks so bad. This is a great way to do it. You don't have to use a lot of materials. There's really not a lot of stuff you need. It's really just the bushings, the sandpaper, the screwdrivers, and well, obviously your bally. And it's an easy way to do it at home without needing a bunch of tools, but it is extremely tedious. So make sure you have the patience and the time, because there have been times that I have taken literally over a week to do bushings because you just kind of sometimes have to take a break. So let's get started. So today we're working on this Ham Maelstrom. I'll get a close-up shot of that right now. Yeah, there we go. That looks pretty good. So we're doing a Ham Maelstrom today. Now, the reason I'm doing the Ham Maelstrom, you probably already just saw that, is this. Yeah, they're not supposed to do that. If you can't see, I'm actually not holding that handle anymore, so that one really doesn't move. So, in this case, if your bally is doing that, that means you have undersized bushings. So I'm sorry guys, but that means that you need new bushings. So you're gonna have to go out and you're gonna have to get yourself new bushings. I'll get a close-up of that too right now. Yeah, well, how do you like those close-ups? Pretty nice, right? Anyways, yeah, by the way, I only have one camera right now because I'm not made of money and I'm trying to just make you guys videos, so we're just gonna have to work with what we got here. Eventually I want to get two cameras so we can kind of just switch back and forth between what I'm doing on the desk here and me talking to you guys. But anyways, you're gonna need a bushing because yours are tight. Someone sanded them too much, so you're gonna need new ones. Now, it's totally different for every bally. For example, this Maelstrom has completely different bushings than, like, say, a rep, or, you know, these are very different bushings in the 1.0 because they're so tiny. You've got those tiny bushings in there. So every bally is different, so you're gonna have to figure that out. I will try to put a link in the description of, you know, more common ballies like the rep and the AB if I can find it, but the rep's a pretty easy bushing to find, which I think most of you are probably going to be doing. I know, like, for example, the EX10, Jeff sells those on his website. So when I redid my EX10 bushings, I was able to just go right to him on his website, which was perfect. If you tighten your bally down all the way and it's stiff, you need new ones. If you tighten your bally down all the way and there's still a crap ton of play, a lot of tap, well, you're in luck. You don't need new bushings. Yours are just oversized. So when they're oversized, you have a little bit of material to play with. You know, if you're just starting out and you're just doing this for the first time, I would maybe recommend trying to find new ones, because it's very easy to undersize them very quick, especially if you're doing it my way, where I don't even really use a caliper like most people do. You'll see, again, why this is so tedious. Just be careful. If you're not going to go out and get new bushings and you're just going to use your oversized ones, be careful. Go really slow and take your time with it. Like I said, this whole process is taking your time, making sure that you can just get this right. So let's start out here. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna switch you guys over so you can see what I'm doing here. You don't really need to look at me while I'm doing this. So let's switch over. All right. Welcome to the overhead cam. Ooh, fancy. All right. So first things first, you're gonna want to grab, depending on the pivot screws that you have, you're gonna want to grab yourself. This one's T10. Most of them are T10. Some of them are T8. So start by taking this off. I usually will hold the pivot on the back here and screw it out so that way it doesn't twist. Sometimes it'll twist. And if that's happening, then if it really doesn't want to give, then that means there's Loctite in there, and then you've got a whole nother mess of problems to deal with. Sometimes the pivot doesn't just like pop out for you, and you just kind of have to wiggle it out here. And actually this one really doesn't want to wiggle out. And sometimes when that happens, you have to just take the whole thing apart. Which that means this one's going to be quite a pain. I didn't look at this before. I haven't taken this apart at all. I wanted to do this video for you guys, like straight up just what I do right away with it. So it's this is going to make it a harder process. So first things first, we're going to take out our bushing that's undersized. There it is right there. And take that out. Put that to the side because you don't want to confuse that with your new ones. Make sure that's in a totally different spot, because I've done that before where I've been working on a knife and you just you mess up and then you put the old one in and you're like, crap, I just wasted time. I also would recommend grabbing yourself some paper towels, because a lot of these will have a lot of dirt and grime in them from all the oils that everybody's using. So just clean your stuff off. You're going to want to clean the washers off, because this is how we can get kind of a more accurate reading of where the bushings are at. I'm going to take those off before I lose them. Okay, there we go. Get that freaking pivot out. Alright, so once you got all your stuff clean, here's the fun part. Take your new one. Now I always just take, before I do any sanding at all, I take the new one and I put it in. Sometimes they're a pain in the ass. Put it right in, because sometimes, very rarely, you can get very lucky and your new pivot will actually just fit perfectly. It doesn't happen very often, so don't expect it, but every once in a while you'll get lucky. So just start off by putting your new one in. You'll see in a moment why this gets very tedious very quick. Because basically this whole process that I'm doing right now, you're going to do it so many times, you're going to hate this bally. Also, always do a note to self which side you're doing, because sometimes you'll be like, was I working on the safe handle, or was I working on the bite handle? Now for this, because this one I'm going to have to take apart a bunch of times, I'm not going to do both screws in on the bottom there. Just one should be good enough. Tighten that down all the way. Get it completely tightened down, like fully tightened. Now we're gonna check. Alright, so as you can see, that's swinging freely now, unlike this side, which isn't swinging freely at all. So then what you want to do is you want to check your play. How's the play on it? You can see there's a little bit of play. I'll grab the blade sometimes and I'll do this with it to just kind of check the tap. And there's actually no tap, but there is play, so we are going to mess with it a little bit. There's actually not much I think that's going to need to be done to work on that. So I'm actually pretty happy with how that is so far, so we're not going to do a whole lot of sanding. Unfortunately, with some balis, you will have to do a lot of sanding. So here's where it gets fun. Now we're going to take it apart again. You're going to get to know your bali really well. You're going to have some intimate time together, because you're going to have to keep taking this thing apart until it's perfect. And this is where I said to many people, I do bushings, but I don't offer it as like a service, because God does it suck to do. So this is where it gets really important. So you get your sandpaper, you get your little bushing. Because we're not using any other tools and we're literally just using sandpaper, bushings, and that's about it, and now your hands, you have to be very careful. You have to apply the same amount of pressure throughout the entire thing as best you can. Because if you're not applying the correct amount of pressure, you will end up with an uneven bushing, which you'll have to get a new one, and so on. So make sure you're applying enough pressure, and we're just going to do a few little circles, not a lot. Especially with this lower grit sandpaper, you want to go nice and easy and want to go nice and slow. With the higher grit, you have a little bit more room because it's not going to take away as much material as quickly. But we're just going to do little circles here. I usually count to like 5, and I stop at 5. So I'm also going to make sure that you guys don't have to hear that noise, because I can tell right now that in the microphone that's going to suck. So actually, I'm going to see if I can get this on camera here. So you can see one side is nice and shiny now, and the other side still has that finish on it from before. See? So that is how you know which ones you've used and which ones you haven't used. So now I'm going to go on the other side, and I'm going to do another 5 circles. I always blow off the dust because that can interfere with how well it's going. So now that we've done 5 and 5, I like to put the bushing on first because then it makes it easier lining up the blade. Alright, so we've got that lined up. Now we're going to take our other stuff. Put it together. Now again, like I said, do one because it's one less step you have to do when putting it together and taking it apart again. Tighten that down all the way. Alright, she's swinging good. Still got some play. It's like on the verge of having tap. So we're gonna, I'm not gonna make you guys watch me do this whole thing because this video would literally be hours long. So I'm gonna come back when I'm a little bit closer, and then we'll go from there. So I'm sitting here doing this behind the scenes. I'm just remembering a couple of things. So when you're doing this, make sure you do at least put one screw in on the bottom here, because if you don't do that and you get lazy and you just start putting in just the pivot area, what happens is this starts getting pinched too much. So your bushings actually won't be correct sizes for the thickness of the handle, because it needs that at least one screw on the bottom to hold it in, so that way it's being pinched correctly up here, because if not, the one side of the handle will actually start coming up and up and up because you're pinching it up here too much. So make sure you are having at least one screw in on the bottom here. Don't get lazy and do just the top. I know it's one extra step, but it is important to doing bushings. Now, I'm kind of almost there with this safe handle. Just to kind of like give you guys a little bit of a time thing here on how long. I've already been working on this for 15 minutes, almost 16 minutes, and that's just one handle. So already you can see if you mess up, it's very frustrating, because if you undersize it, then you have to start over, and that's another 15, 20, 30, an hour worth of your time out the window that you have to now do all over again. So like I said, take your time with it, make sure you're very patient, because that's really the key to these bushings. Now, like I said, as you get closer and you start noticing that the play in the bally becomes less and less and the tap becomes less and less, when you're getting really close to the point where you feel like the next time you put it, my cat just hopped on my lap. No. Where the next time you feel like you put it together, it's going to be it. Start doing less circles. So the first time we started doing circles, I think I was counting to 5, and I was doing 5 circles. So however many amount of circles you were doing and it was starting to work for you, because everyone's different and each sheet of sandpaper is honestly different as far as the amount of circles go, start doing less. So for me, I'm going to start now doing 3 circles at a time. And these are very tiny circles. They're super small. Like, I mean, like, you're really just going like this. It's not a lot. You're not really doing a whole lot. So you're going to keep doing that until you get closer and closer and closer. The closer you get, the less circles you're going to do, and so on. Because, like I said, you really don't want to undersize them. If you undersize them, it's very frustrating. So just make sure you're taking your time with this, and I'll see you guys in another few seconds when I get this even closer. Okay, so I think I've gotten into a point where I'm pretty happy with it. No tap. You can see there's like pretty much no play now. Obviously this side is like won't move because the bushings are terrible, but this side actually will swing freely now. So I think I'm happy with that side. I feel like if I go any more, it's gonna start binding. So I'm happy with it. So at this point, what I usually do is I'll check it with a little bit of oil. I know there was a huge debate with, you know, what KPL did with all the smaller guys, and I actually didn't use KPL for a while after all that stuff happened, and I used a bunch of other people, but I just keep coming back to KPL because I really do prefer their oil over all the other ones that I have tried. So I do use theirs still, but usually what I'll do after I'm done, just add a couple drops in. I'll work it in there. Obviously it's a little harder with one side being so stupid. I'm gonna uncrank it just a little bit here so that way we can at least get that oil in there. Yeah, it sounded pretty good. And now after that, there's no play at all in it. Zero tap or wiggle. So I think we're done with the safe side. Now, just for a time reference here, how long it took me just to do the one side, we're going on 30 minutes. So, you know, like I said, take your time with it. It's tedious, but it's well worth it in the end. So we're gonna now go over and we're gonna do the bite handle side. We're gonna finish that baby up, and this thing will be ready to go. There's been a total of almost an hour, 50 minutes here for us to complete this whole thing. I think I got it where I want it. I might go back after this video and just do it a little bit more. But as you can see here, no more play really. No more tap. I haven't put oil in on the bite handle yet, which I need to do. So let me do a little bit of oil here. Get out of here, cap. Now the cap doesn't want to go back on. Okay, there we go. Work the oil in. I'll usually do a few. But as you can tell, she's sounding a whole lot better than she did. And now she actually swings. Look at that. And we did so well, we actually have an extra bushing. So that's kind of cool. All right, and I think that just about does it for the bushing video. The maelstrom's flipping nice and good now. Maybe I'll do a review video on it now that it actually flips well. So yeah, so that is my way of doing bushings. I hope you learned something. As far as the materials go, I like to use these Weeha screws. So I do highly recommend picking up a set of those. I'll put a link in the description to grabbing that because they do help quite a bit. I actually need to get myself another T8 because mine broke. I used it so much. So I'm using this like dinky little one for now, but the Weehas really help a lot with when you're doing any type of bally work at all. And then KPL as well. I'll put a link in the description for that. That is some pretty good oil to use. And then sandpaper. I will not put a link in the description for that because you can find sandpaper anywhere. So go get sandpaper at your local hardware shop because you don't need to buy it on Amazon, dude. It's like probably right down the road. Just go get it there. All right. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. If you have any ideas of other videos you want me to do or have any questions on this, feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram. That's RyanCCC98. I really, pretty much, if you message me on Instagram, I will answer you. So if you have a question, feel free to ask. If you're in the middle of doing your bushings and you're like, man, I wonder such and such, I don't know. If you have any questions about it though, feel free to DM me and I will be more than happy to answer any questions you have. So yeah, guys, I really appreciate you watching and clicking on the link. A big shout out to Will Hirsch. I'll put his videos down in my description as well because he helped me a lot with starting out here. And then also a big shout out to Ryan Harbor, also known as Stitch Steel on Instagram. He's pretty much the dude that got me into this hobby, and he has helped me out with so many things throughout the 8 years that I have known of him, and now we know each other pretty well and we talk to each other. So big shout out to him as well. So Will Hirsch, Ryan Harbor, you guys rock. I really appreciate everything you guys have done for me. And like I said, again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.